There, Mr. Sutton here, bringing you the Algebra 2 4-3 Part 2 homework solutions on synthetic division. To divide this using synthetic division, we're going to start by writing down the coefficients of our dividend. So we've got an invisible 1 for the x squared, 8, and then 1. And then we'll write off our k value off on the side here, so that's going to be 4, because 4 minus 4 is 0, so whatever zeroes out that divisor. So let's leave a little room, draw a line there, and now we'll bring down our first coefficient. So we'll bring in 1 down here. 4 times 1 is going to give me 4, and then we're going to do 8 plus 4 to get 12. 4 times 12 is going to be 48, and then 1 plus 48 gives us 49. So our quotient is going to be 1 x to the first power, because we're 1 less than we started, plus 12, plus we have a 49 over x minus 4 for the remainder. Let's go ahead and divide this using synthetic division. So writing down my coefficients of the dividend first, we've got a 3, negative 2, make sure you include that negative sign, then we have a 2 and a negative 5. And now for my k value, it's going to be whatever zeroes out my divisor, so that's going to be negative 1, and I'll write that off on the side here. Let me leave some room and draw a line here. Now let's bring down that first coefficient of 3, and then we'll multiply our k value by whatever's on the bottom. So we have negative 1 times 3 gives me negative 3, and that goes in the second row here. We're adding that to the top row, so negative 2 plus negative 3 is negative 5. Negative 1 times negative 5 gives me a 5 up here. 2 plus 5 is going to be 7, times negative 1 is giving me negative 7, and then plus negative 5, that comes out to negative 12. So for our quotient, starting with the 3 here, we've got 3x to the, well, we started with third power, so this is going to be x to the second power, minus 5x to the first power, plus 7, and then we have minus 12 over the divisor of x plus 1. For the synthetic division on this, we're going to have to be a little bit careful writing out the coefficients of our dividend. We have a negative 1 for that negative x cubed, and we have a 4 for the x squared, but now there's no x term, notice, so that means that we have to include a 0 for the 0x that they're not writing. And then we have a 9. Now let's write our k value, which is going to be 3, because 3 minus 3 is 0. That zeroes out the divisor. Let's draw a line here and bring down our first coefficient of negative 1. So we have 3 times that, gives me negative 3 up here. 4 plus negative 3 is going to be 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 0 is still 3, times 3 is going to give us 9, and 9 plus 9 is 18. So this negative 1 represents a negative 1x squared for the quotient. It's one exponent lower than the third power that we started with. Then we have a plus 1x to the first power, plus 3, plus we have an 18 over our divisor of x minus 3. For this one, we're trying to divide using synthetic division. Let's start by writing the coefficients of our dividend. So we've got 1 for the 1x to the fourth, followed by a 4, followed by, well, we don't have an x squared term here, so we need a 0 for the placeholder there. Then we have 16 and negative 35. Now we'll write the k value off to the side. That's going to be whatever zeroes out this x plus 5, so then negative 5 is our k value. Let's leave a little space for our second row and then draw that line to give us our third row down here. So bring down our first coefficient. 1 is coming down here. Then we have negative 5 times this bottom row. So negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. And then we'll add these top two rows. 4 plus negative 5 is negative 1. Negative 5 times negative 1 is 5. 0 plus 5 is 5. Negative 5 times 5 is going to be negative 25. 16 plus negative 25 is negative 9. Negative 5 times negative 9 is 45. And then negative 35 plus 45 gives us a remainder of 10. So writing out our quotient, we have a 1 here representing 1x to the third power, 1 lower than the fourth power that we started with. Then this is going to be a negative 1x to the second plus 5x minus 9. And then we have a plus 10 over our divisor of x plus 5. On this problem, they want us to evaluate f of x at x equals negative 1 using synthetic division. Now this one would be easy enough to plug -1 in the normal way, but let me show you the synthetic division way. So we have our coefficients, -1 for the -x², then we have -8 and +30, and then the k value that we'll use with synthetic division is exactly whatever they said x equals, so -1. So let's leave a little space, draw my line, and bring the first coefficient down to the bottom row. So -1 times our bottom row value of -1 is going to be +1. -8 plus that is -7. -1 times -7 is 7. And 30 plus 7 is 37. So the remainder here is the value when we plug in -1 for this function. So we can say f of -1 equals 37. On this problem, to evaluate this function for x equals -4, one way to do it would be to use synthetic division, as they recommend. So let's do it that way. Let's write down our coefficients first. We've got 1 for the x cubed, 1 for the x², then a -3 and a 9. Our k value that we're plugging in off on the side here is this -4 that x equals. So if we bring down our first coefficient, let's multiply that by -4. That's -4 times 1 is -4. 1 plus -4, we're adding these second two rows, is going to be -3. -4 times -3 is 12. -3 plus 12 is 9. -4 times 9 is -36, plus another 9 up here gives me -27. So the remainder here tells us that f of -4 then equals -27. On this one, we're plugging 3 into the f function using synthetic division. So let's write out our coefficients. We've got 1, and then we're missing an x cubed, so we got to be careful there. There's a placeholder 0 for that. Then we have the 6 for the x², -7, plus 1. K value of 3 over here. Let's draw our line and bring down our first coefficient of 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 0 plus 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 6 plus 9 gives us 15. 3 times 15 is 45. Plus -7 is 38. And then 3 times 38 is, let me think here, 3 times 30 is 90. 3 times 8 is 24. 90 plus 24 is 114. And then 1 plus 114 is 115. So after all that, we conclude that f of 3 equals this remainder of 115.